At Denning Pharmaceuticals' main office, a former employee named John enters the elevator and opens his suitcase, revealing a gun. He proceeds to the executive floor and swiftly kills several high-ranking individuals. Returning to the reception area, he encounters the police. John justifies his actions by stating that somebody had to do something, and then he self-deletes. Subsequently, news reports detail the release of a new medication by Denning Pharmaceutical. Despite causing fatal side effects resulting in 3 deaths, the drug is receiving approval from the FDA. As a result, the company faces a significant lawsuit, leading to a decline in their stocks. In an attempt to eliminate evidence, they strive to rid themselves of any incriminating materials. Allan, a crucial figure in the company, decides to take on the case against Denning Pharmaceutical, knowing it will greatly impact his career. He assigns his legal assistant, Tom, the task of handling the necessary paperwork. However, Tom must update his keycard on Monday mornings as they are reset over the weekend. Since their key witness, John, is no longer available, Tom suggests adding victims of heart attacks to the pharmaceutical case. Allan, however, refuses, emphasizing that such minor victims do not generate profit. Shortly after, Tom is summoned to another boss's office to discuss the Gambizzi crime family case. Tom had sent a memo expressing his desire to be involved in that case, but his boss destroys it and chastises him for not devoting more attention to his current workload. Following this encounter, Tom goes to the file room to put away the file that Allan rejected. Tom's girlfriend and colleague Anna pays him a visit, allowing them to steal a few secret kisses. Later on, Allan declares that due to the servers being down since the previous night, everyone can leave. However, before Tom can depart, Allan informs him that his earlier memo contained a dangerous error and promptly fires him. In the elevator, Tom encounters an unfamiliar man. Upon reaching the reception area, the man leaves a suitcase on the floor and another individual picks it up before joining Tom in the elevator. This sequence of events appears suspicious to Tom. After determining the man's destination floor, Tom attempts to follow him, but his keycard has already been deactivated. Anxious about the stranger waiting outside, Tom seeks assistance from the guard to activate the elevator. Upon returning to the office, Tom is surprised to find his coworker Roger occupying his desk. Curious about this unusual behavior, Tom asks Roger to unlock the door for him. As Tom continues to investigate, he notices that Roger has placed a file on the desk. Growing more suspicious, Tom discreetly begins recording with his phone and conceals it in a pencil holder. Further exploration leads Tom to discover the mysterious individual tampering with the power box. A lawyer approaches the man, doubting his claim of being maintenance and requesting identification. When the lawyer attempts to confirm his presence by making a call, the man pulls out a gun and fatally shoots her. The killer then removes the body to conceal it. In the midst of the chaos, Tom quickly heads to the bathroom and opens a stall, only to find the lifeless body of the security guard. Upon checking on the guard, the toilet sensor activates, causing Tom to shut the door and hide by climbing on top of the toilet. Shortly after, the murderer enters the room and cleans the blood from his face while engaging in conversation with the lifeless body, making mention of needing the keys. Just in time, Tom manages to move to the adjacent stall by stealthily sliding under the wall just before the killer retrieves the keys, gun, and radio from the body. Attempting to conceal himself, Tom carefully climbs onto the toilet, almost triggering the flush mechanism, but fortunately the killer activates his own toilet first, masking any noise Tom might make. The killer proceeds to destroy the radio and then leaves to disable the fire sprinkler system before entering the file room, where he sets up some explosives. Meanwhile, Tom hurriedly makes his way to the break room and locates Roger, informing him about the presence of the killer before they both rush towards the elevator. Regrettably, the elevator is out of order, so they sprint down the corridor and attempt to use the emergency exit. However, the killer has already tampered with the exit bar, rendering it unopenable and leaving them trapped. They return to the main area and attempt to access the reception computer, only to discover that the internet is down. Tom notices the imminent arrival of the killer, prompting the duo to hide, but the killer becomes suspicious upon seeing that the computer has been used. After disconnecting it, he enters the desk area, revealing that he possesses a keycard as well. Once out of sight, the duo emerges from their hiding place, desperately trying to devise another plan. Tom seizes Roger's keycard and opens the door to the executive offices in search of Allan, instructing Roger to find his phone and call the police. As Tom activates the lock, his jacket becomes caught in the door. While Tom searches for Allan, Roger heads to his desk and uses his phone to contact his wife. But just as he is about to reveal the information to her, the murderer locates him and forces him to say that everything is okay. Observing this through the window, Tom quickly rushes to the break room in search of a knife. Once Roger ends the call, the killer brandishes his gun and inquires if there are any other individuals working late. Roger lies and claims that he is the only one, prompting the killer to grab a cable and proceed to strangle him, all of which is captured on Tom's mobile phone. Upon Tom's return, the desk is empty. He seizes his phone and attempts to call 911, only to realize that it has run out of battery. After plugging it into charge, he scans the office and discovers Roger's lifeless body in his chair. In that moment, the killer re-enters and notices the jacket at the door, causing Tom to swiftly snatch Roger's keycard and hide in the closet, where he is startled by the lawyer's corpse. Meanwhile, the killer drags Roger's body while speaking on his own phone, expressing frustration to someone as nobody was supposed to be present. Suddenly, Tom's phone gains enough charge to ring. The killer investigates and, after dismissing Anna's call, stumbles upon the video of his own murder. He promptly erases it and examines the settings to find Tom's name and picture. Realizing that this individual is the owner of the jacket, he calls out Tom's name, but Tom remains concealed under a desk. Once the killer departs, Tom rushes into another office and sets some paper ablaze in an attempt to activate the fire alarm, but it proves ineffective as well. Suddenly, Tom notices someone in an office of the adjacent building, prompting him to ignite a larger flame inside the trash can and push it against the curtains to initiate a proper fire. Tom attracts the neighbor's attention and signals him to call for assistance. However, the killer notices a burning smell and quickly grabs a fire extinguisher to deal with the fire. Tom, spotting the killer, flees before the killer enters the room to extinguish the flames. To prevent the neighbor from calling for help, Tom pretends to use the phone. After a few minutes, Tom reaches the reception area and utilizes a computer to create a new keycard. The killer nearly discovers him, but Tom puts the computer in sleep mode and hides beneath the desk. Once the killer departs, Tom resets all the locks, rendering the killer's keycard useless. Subsequently, Tom turns off most of the lights in the building and hurries to Allan's office, only to find him engaged in conversation with a woman. As the killer shoots at the office lock, Tom takes cover behind the door. The killer seems familiar with Allan, but when the woman brandishes a gun, the killer swiftly eliminates her. He then takes her weapon and departs, instructing Allan to stay put. Alone, Tom inquires about the woman's identity, to which Allan reveals that she is affiliated with the Gambizzi crime family. Allan suspects that the mafia sent the killer to silence her, as she was slated to testify against her husband. In that instant, they hear an unusual sound and realize that the murderer is attempting to gain access to the room containing files by repeatedly striking the door with an axe. However, their efforts are in vain as the door is made of reinforced steel and bulletproof glass. Following this, Allan and Tom make an effort to escape but are forced to take cover upon hearing the approaching killer. To verify their suspicion, Tom questions the killer, who is impersonating the janitor's voice, by asking for the nickname the janitor always used. As expected, the killer is clueless, leading Tom to deduce that the janitor is already dead. The criminal then activates the elevators in an attempt to lure them out. Allan and Tom examine the corridor and come across the lifeless body of the janitor, accompanied by a note declaring, "You win." Suddenly, the sound of a ringing phone reaches their ears, prompting them to hurry towards the desk. Tom is astounded when he discovers that the call is from his own number. Recognizing it as a trap, Allan tries to flee, resulting in the killer shooting him in the arm. The pair begins to flee, while being relentlessly pursued by the killer, who continues to fire at them. Eventually, they find refuge in an office where they are able to secure the door. Unfortunately, the door lacks the same reinforced construction, and the criminal begins to break it down using the axe. Just as he catches up to them, they manage to enter the file room. In an attempt to seek help, Tom tries to use the killer's phone but finds it protected by a password. The killer still possesses Tom's phone, and realizing that it does not require a PIN, he sends a text to Anna, asking her to come over. Driven by desperation to assist Anna, Tom comes up with an idea and starts utilizing the copy machine. The killer allows Anna to enter at the entrance and holds her at gunpoint, demanding her phone to destroy it. Just then, Tom arrives and proposes exchanging the keycard for Anna, but the killer remains unconvinced until Allan joins in to handle the negotiations. Once the gun is dropped, Allan takes the card to the criminal, who releases Anna but retrieves the guard's gun. Allan urges him to save Anna, resulting in the killer punching Allan and dragging him to the file room. In the file room, the killer expresses frustration that Allan did not clear the office, hinting at their collaboration. After activating the explosives, Tom arrives with a gun, only to realize that the criminal possesses all the bullets. Allan seizes the opportunity to flee, and the door shuts, trapping the killer in the file room. The killer attempts to escape using the keycard, but it fails because Tom had given him a counterfeit one he created with the copy machine. Suddenly, the explosives detonate, igniting a fire on the file shelves. The killer futilely tries to extinguish the fire and loses consciousness due to the smoke. Tom enters the room, discards the gun, and extinguishes the fire by toppling the shelves. Unexpectedly, the killer regains consciousness and attacks Tom, leading to a brawl. The man quickly gains the upper hand over Tom, and Anna intervenes to assist, only to be punched herself. Taking advantage of the distraction, Tom strikes the assailant, and as they both fall, Allan arrives and shoots the killer. As the man nears death, He whispers the numbers 11 to 22 and Tom retrieves the keys from his pocket. Meanwhile, Anna employs the keys to activate the elevators as Tom returns to the desks to locate the case file. Within the file, he uncovers the pharmaceutical company's desire to eliminate all incriminating evidence. Subsequently, Tom inputs 11 to 22 into the murderer's phone, successfully unlocking it and revealing Allan's contact information. It transpires that Allan had been paid by the pharmaceutical company to ensure their victory in the case, leading him to hire the man to destroy the files and execute Roger. Allan asserts that corporations pose a greater threat than the mafia and endeavors to bribe Tom, but Tom declines the money and departs with the file. In order to avoid imprisonment, Allan takes the drastic measure of deleting himself. Shortly after, the police arrive, prompting Tom to hastily depart with Anna in order to avoid detection. In the file room, a cop discovers the copy machine actively producing numerous copies of the case evidence. Unbeknownst to him, he is the same individual who had left the gun for the killer. Upon finding Tom's phone in the killer's possession, the officer immediately contacts a hitman to pursue Tom and eliminate him in order to maintain silence. Please like, subscribe and comment for more video like this. Thanks for watching.